जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीरावन तारी यमुना तीरावन तारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे हरे जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रजजन रंजन यशोदनंदन व्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीरावन चारी यमुना तीरावन चारी कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असम्बल्ड डिवोटीज हरे कृष्ण 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 ऑल ग्लोरीज टू गुरु एंड गॉड जय श्री कृष्ण 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 हरे राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम हरे कृष्ण स्टार्ट ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna devotees. Today we are going to discuss third canto. Let me share the screen. We are going to discuss third canto, 31st chapter, verse number 2 to 4. So is it visible? The screen is visible. Hare Krishna. Could you see the verses? Someone can respond. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you. So verse number 2 to 4. So we will finish one round of reading the verse, then we will come to word, and then translation, and then purpose. Kalalam tvayekaratrena, kalalam tvayekaratrena, kalalam tvayekaratrena, pancharatrena budbudam, pancharatrena budbudam, pancharatrena budbudam, dasahena tu कर्कंदुहा कर्कंदुही दसाहेन तु कर्कंदुही दसा दसाहेन तु कर्कंदुही पेशियन्दं वा तथा परं पेशियन्दं वा तथा तथा परं पेशियन्दं तथा परं. Verse number 3. मासेन तु श्री द्वाभ्यां मासेन तु शिरो द्वाभ्यां मासेन तु शिरो द्वाभ्यां भवङ्ग्रियादि अङ्गविग्रह भवङ्ग्रियादि अङ्गविग्रह भवङ्ग्रियादि अङ्गविग्रह नकलो मास्ति चर्माणि नकलो मास्ति चर्माणि नकलो मास्ति चर्माणि लिंगचिद्रोद्भव त्रिभिः लिंगचिद्रोद्भव त्रिभिः लिंगचिद्रोद्भव त्रिभिः. Verse number 4. चतुर्भिर्दाटव सप्तः चतुर्भिर्दाटवः सप्तः चतुर्भिर्दाटवः सप्तः पंचभिः क्षुतुत्र उद्भवः पंचभिः क्षुत्रुद् उद्भवः पंचभिः क्षुत्रुद् उद्भवः ताद्भिर्जारयुना वीतः ताद्भिर्जारयुना वीतः ताद्भिर्जारयुना वीतः कुक्षौ भ्राम्यति दक्षिणे कुक्षौ भ्राम्यति दक्षिणे कुक्षौ भ्राम्यति दक्षिणे. Synonyms. Kalalam, mixing of the sperm and ovum. Tu, then. Ekaratrena, on the first night. Pancharatrena, by the first night. Budbudam, a bubble. Dasahena, in 10 days. Tu, then. Karkanduhi, like a plum. Pesi, a lump of flesh. Andam, an egg. Va, or Tataha, then. Param, afterwards. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. On the first night, the sperm and ovum mix, and on the fifth night, the mixture ferments into a bubble. On the 10th night, it develops into a form, like a plum, and after that, it gradually turns into a lump of flesh or an egg, as the case may be. Purport. The body of the soul develops in four different ways according to its different sources. One kind of body, that of the trees and plants, sprouts from the earth. The second kind of body grows from perspiration, as with flies, germs, and bugs. The third kind of body develops from eggs, and the fourth develops from an embryo. This verse indicates that after emulsification of the ovum and sperm, the body gradually develops either into a lump of flesh or into an egg, as the case may be. In the case of birds, it develops into an egg, and in the case of animals and human beings, it develops into a lump of flesh. The second verse. Masena, within a month, two, then Siraha, a head. Dwabhyam, in 2 months. Bahu, arms. Angri, feet. Adi, and so on. Anga, limbs. Vigraha, form. Naka, nails. Loma, body hair. Asti, bones. Charmani, and skin. Linga, organ of generation. Chidra, apertures. Udbhavaha, appearance. Tribihi, within 3 months. Translation. There is no purport for second verse. In the course of a month, a head is formed, and at the end of 2 months, the head, feet, and other limbs take shape. By the end of 3 months, the nails, fingers, toes, body, hair, bones, and skin appear, as do the organ of generation and the other apertures in the body, namely the eyes, nostrils, ears, mouth, and anus. The next verse, last verse. Chaturbihi, within 4 months. Datavaha, ingredients. Sapta, 7. Panchabihi, within 5 months. Chutrit, of hunger and thirst. Udbhavaha, appearance. Sadbihi, within 6 months. Jarayuna, by the amnion. Vitaha, enclosed. Ukshav, in the abdomen. Brahmyati, moves. Dakshine, on the right side. Translation and purpose. Within 4 months from the date of conception, the 7 essential ingredients of the body, namely child blood, flesh, fat, bone, marrow, and semen, come into existence. At the end of 5 months, hunger and thirst make themselves felt, and at the end of 6 months, the fetus, enclosed by the amnion, begins to move on the right side of the abdomen. Purport. When the body of the child is completely formed, at the end of 6 months, the child, if he is male, begins to move on the right side, and if female, she tries to move on the left side. So here the three verses. Purport ends. Okay. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Taskurutam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Savitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Vutapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahana Raghunathan Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहनललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुतदेवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिधि नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, welcome to all devotees for daily Bhagavatam class, ISKCON Seshadripuram, Bangalore. And today's canto, third canto. So let me brief about the canto. Before getting into the verse, let us get into the canto, then the chapter, and then the connectivity to the verse. Then we will get into the today's verse. So today's canto is status quo. That is canto number 3. So what is meant by status quo? The status quo means government passing some amendments, whether those amendments are in place or not, like that, revisiting, the implementation kind of a stuff. So this third canto could be understood in 4 different divisions. The first division is meeting of Uddhava Vidura. The second division Sarga and Visarga. The third division pastimes of Lord Varaha. And then fourth division is appearance and teachings of Lord Kapila. So the first three divisions we have come across, and the fourth division presently we are into appearance and teachings of Lord Kapila. This goes from chapter number 21 to 33. And before getting into the chapter, let us understand the thread or the theme of this particular today's concept. So here the chapter 25 to 33 deals with teachings of Lord Kapila to Devahuti. After Kardama left, Kapila stayed with mother. She inquired from him. So these are the thread, 25 to 33. Presently, we are in the chapter of 31. And to get into the thread from where this particular topic started means, so there are so many questions asked, by Mother Devahuti. She asked one of the question like, please describe, this is question number 8, please describe samsara of jivas. This happened in 29th chapter, 3rd canto, 2nd verse. And then Lord Kapila started answering from chapter 30 to 32. Right now we are in chapter 32. So what we learned from chapter 30, the pain in youth, old age, death, and hell of materially attached persons. So 30 to 32 is the answer actually. So in 30th chapter we come across the pain in youth, old age, death, and hell of materially attached person. We all know. So this is a big pain, birth, death, old age, and this is like that. So in that it was dealt with youth, old age, death, and hell of materially attached person. And then this and all we have discussed. And then what we are going to discuss was it criticizes sakama karma, superiority of bhakti yoga. This is also out of our scope. And today's scope is the pains in the womb at birth as an infant and as a child, also prayers of jiva within the womb. So I'm repeating, today's topic or the theme from chapter 31. The pains in the womb, when the baby in the womb, what is the pain? And at birth, what is the pain? As an infant. So there is a special meaning for why it is being address, infant, and as a child, also prayers of Jiva within the womb. So this is our subject matter or the thread for today's discussion. And then another, chapter that is also out of scope. Just for understanding, the flow, I would like to bring out that also. Devavuti's prayers, Lord Kapila's final instruction, Devahuti follows those instructions and perfect her life. So here this particular, theme or this particular canto ends with chapter number 33. So right now 32 and 33 is out of our scope. Presently we are in 31. And before getting into the 31, what is the previous chapter? The previous chapter deals about description by Lord Kapila of adverse fruitive activities, and the next chapter deals with chapter 32 deals with entanglement in fruitive activities, and today's subject matter is Lord Kapila's instruction on the movements of the living entity. I'm repeating, Lord Kapila's instructions on the movements of the living entity. So, what is the take-home message from or the connectivity between previous chapter and today's chapter is Kapila Dev now answered the second question about samsara. So the answer about the samsara continues up to next chapter, 31 and 32 out of 33 chapters. So the samsara here it is referred. Samsara means the one who get into this birth and death cycle again and again. That is the real meaning of samsara. Yes, obviously Varnashrama also there in that, right? Grihasthashrama also part of uh, samsara. But here the meaning is whichever the varna or whichever the ashrama one takes, if we continuously get into this birth, death, old age disease, birth, death, old age disease, then that particular process we can call it as samsara. So these are a brief introduction to get into that particular verse. And before getting into this second verse to fourth verse, what we discussed in the uh, previous verse is the point. So in the previous verse, the jiva about to get a human body according to his karma. I am repeating. It is important to understand before getting into the today's verse. Jiva about to get a human body according to his karma. So we know that he enters the mother's womb by taking shelter of the semen of the man or a father. So in this way, the previous verse, give the instruction to us. Now let me get into the theme of this 31 chapter, verse number 1 to 11. So the verse 1 to 11 deals with Jiva's entry into the womb, and the second portion is growth and sufferings in the womb. So the verse number 1 to 11 deals with Jiva's entry into the womb, his growth and sufferings in the womb. So our subject matter for or the theme for today is or the sufferings in the womb is out of the scope of today's discussion. And today's discussion limited within the Jiva's entry into the womb and its growth. So how the Jiva entered into the womb and its growth. In the first verse, we learned how the Jiva enters into the womb. How the Jiva enters into the womb, the Jiva about to get a human body according to his karma. How many lakhs of species are there? There are 84 lakh species are there. So out of that, only the rarest species or the rarest form is human form. Only out of 100% or 84 lakh species, human form is only 4 lakh or just less than 5% of the 100% of the jivas. So this 5% will be decided based on the karma of this particular jiva, right? So whatever uh, the human at the time of death, he thinks, yeah, he or she thinks, or he thinks at the time of leaving the body, Lord sanctions according to that body, or we can understand based on our activities or karmic activities, one will get the body. And in quick summary of today's these three verses, I would like to bring it in this way: development of embryo from day 1 to 6 months. So our subject matter, as I told earlier, Jiva's entry into the womb that we have discussed is growth and sufferings in the womb. So it's growth only. It is purely the science what we are discussing, right? This is the spiritual science. So where this knowledge, 5,000 years ago, how this knowledge being given to the people. Today we are seeing that this, scanning, going to hospital and then checking whether a boy baby or a girl baby or what is the growth of this particular, the stage, etc., etc., so-called science. But this science never changes. Science means which never changes. So let us get into this today's verses. So just try to remember 8 points. So these are the 8 points is the take-home message for the day. And again we are going to run around these 8 points only. Number one, during first night, semen and blood mix. So during first night, semen and blood mixes. Then fifth night, it takes the size of a bubble. 5 days it takes, right? Excuse me. So during the first night, semen and blood mixes. During after 5 days, it takes the size of a bubble. So this is the second point. Third point. So 5 nights over. Now after 10 days, from the first night to 10 days, it becomes the size of a badri fruit, like plum. In the hill station, we will get that fruit like it's not like looks like cherry. Plum is a breed of apple or something. So in English that is, but here it is mentioned that badri fruit. Right? In Ooty, Kodaikanal, you will get this kind of fruit. Plum. They say plums or something. And then it becomes a ball of flesh. It will be in a maroon or reddish color like that. Slightly yellowish and reddish color. After 10 days, it becomes the size of a badri fruit and then it becomes a ball of flesh. So this is the growth within the 10 days. Then by the second month, head forms, arms forms, legs forms, and other limbs develop during the month 2. So as we discussed up to 6 months, we are going to discuss. Now we are in second month. And then the third month, nails, hairs, bones, and skin develop. So this is in the month of 3. Then by the fourth month, the 7 doubters develop. So what is this? By the fourth month, what are the 7? Dhatus. So we'll discuss in detail when we discuss in the verse. And by the fifth month, hunger and thirst develop. The baby knows, when the baby feeling hungry, when the baby feeling, thirst, etc. By the sixth month, the embryo is covered by a skin and the male child moves towards the right and the female child moves towards the left. So by the sixth month, the embryo is covered by a skin and the male child moves towards the right and the female child moves towards the left. So female child moves towards the left and male child moves towards the right. These are the subject matter for today's discussion. Let us quickly, discuss about which is out of scope also for the connectivity. But this out of scope is the birth itself suffering. We know Prabhupada mentioned birth, death, old age, and disease. So in that topmost dukkha or primary dukkha or beginning of the dukkha starts from birth. The birth itself is dukkha. So how to understand this? A quick recap, then we will come to today's subject. The child gets nourished by whatever mother eats and drinks. The fifth verse says, the 5th to 11 I told it's out of scope, but for connectivity just I am giving the glimpse of that. And then the suffering of the child within the womb. So that is the reason we don't want to get into the cycle of Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Jananam. We don't want. So once Prabhupada, he went to, he went for preaching. Generally, whenever they look at the sadhu, they will ask for bhavishya, or they want to know their astrology or their future or the palm history, like that. So, or one person asked Prabhupada, थोड़ा हाथ देखना है, like that, can you see my palm history and can you see my palm and tell, my bhavishya like that. Oh yes, Prabhupada said, oh yes, I can see your palm and tell to you what is the, your future, etc. like that. Then the devotee was eagerly waiting to listen from him. Prabhupada, tell me how is my, life, by seeing the palm like this, that, and that. Prabhupada, without second thought, he said, "Tu marne wala." So he said, you are going to die. Then he was so afraid and started laughing. Prabhupada, I'm asking something about my future. That yes, I am telling about the future only. Prabhupada told. Then what is next? He asked. Then again you will take birth. Then again he asked. Then again Prabhupada said, you will die. Again he said, you will take birth. Prabhupada, then what can I do? Yes, this is the permanent dukkha. So one could understand this repeated birth and death, how much, suffering it is like that. So what is the suffering? It is out of the scope, but still it is, gives the thread to today's discussion on a subject matter. So the baby sleeps in the same hole which holds stool and urine. See, when we get into some private toilet or a public toilet, though it may be a clean, we will not as comfortable like how we get into chauchalya of our home. Right? We get into right. This urine and stool means where it will be fast. It will be there in the chauchalya. That means restroom or whatever we say, right? How the baby or how we as an adolescent or grown up people, when we get into a public toilet, how we get into this discomfort, though it may be maintained well or what, it is not as comfortable to that. But even our own washroom or that also, which we may not be comfortable with this kind of atmosphere, right? So even our acharya said, you know relating this particular point with our Acharya says, even it is better. I am so comfortable to chant next to the shit, where the stool and urine is there. I am ready to chant there rather associating with the one who is materially contaminated, right? Even that materially contaminated person is so stinky than this stool and urine and all. So here the emphasis is that the child should undergo these are the discomfort. See how it sleeps in the same hole which holds stool and urine, right? So it's a important point to discuss how this birth itself is difficult. And then worms bite the soft body of the child continuously, right? You see, if anybody in having experience of swimming pool are continuously putting their hand into the ice or very cold items, like that, you can see their hands, so wrinkled, and over a period of time, they will feel the numbness. They will feel the numbness, or beyond a point, that place will get so itching like anything, like worms bite or ant bite like that. Continuously, the so wrinkled skin, we can understand how this baby is continuously inside the water kind of liquid, and then the worms continuously all over the body. The worms are biting means how crucial and how difficult situation is this is the matter here. And then all its limbs suffer from contact with mother's food. Uh, if it is too bitter, sour, pungent, or hot. So the mother, whatever, you know, all its limbs suffer from contact with mother's food. So the limbs also associated with what type of food, right? We know the food is associated with the guna is associated with the food also. So like that, here the child also can suffer because of the bitterness, because of the sour, because of pungent, because of how hot the food is, etc. But maybe the science says, it will not touch the, baby like that. But here, the supreme science says it is refuting, this modern science. No, the child will feel that bitterness. The child will feel the sour. The child will feel, the pungent or hot, etc. And then unable to move. See, we know the size of the embryo. Unable to move because of the covering of the outer skin and the intestine, the child remains in a bent position. So you know how the child, in an inclined position, etc. Like so, these all are the small glimpse to get into the mood for today's subject matter. So today's subject matter, as we discussed, the pure science. So during the first night, the semen and the blood mixes. Right. So here, the verse number 2, the sperm and ovum mix. Right, when the men and women uh, joining, and on the fifth night, the mixture ferments into a bubble. So that next, it sprouts. Like how the plants are sprouting, like that kind of a structure. On the 10th night, it develops into a form. In the course of a month, a head is formed, and at the end of 2 months, the hands, feet, and other limbs take shape. So, how difficult this until these shapes are coming out? That the child can feel that, but the child cannot express it. That is the point here. One should understand the journey of the 6 months only we are discussing. So this 6 month journey is horrible. Right? So we know the physically challenges difficult, how they all are suffering. So this is also that kind of a situation. By the end of 3 months, the nails, fingers, toes, body, hair, bones, and skin appears, as do the organ of generation and the other apertures in the body, namely the eyes, nostrils, ears, mouth, and anus. So this is the continuous growth of all these things. And in the next verse, it is mentioned that when the body of the child is completely formed at the end of 6 months, the child, if he is male, begins to move on to begins to move on the right side, and the female, she tries to move on the left side. So one should understand, the real difficulty or the position of this. And then here it is mentioned that here it is mentioned that within 4 months from the date of conception, the seven essential ingredients of the body, namely child, blood, flesh, fat, bone, then marrow, and semen, come into existence. At the end of 5 months, hunger and thirst make themselves felt, and at the end of 6 months, the fetus enclosed by the amnion begins to move on the right side of the abdomen. So these are the take-home message for the day, and we will understand in the concept of life in the womb, right? It's a journey. It's not that easy that just like that a body could come out from the mother's womb just like that. Let us understand from the scriptures how this life is the womb. Right? Certain psychologists say the womb was very nice place and comfortable like that. Right? Some psychologists say so. Womb is very comfortable place like that. Also, psychologists may believe or sometimes they may express. Some even say that throughout our adult lives, we unconsciously desire to return to the protection and security. That means floating undisturbed in the warm, dark, quiet world of unparalleled intimacy within the beloved mother. So this is a wrong perception. By the scientific method of hearing from Vedic literature, however, we get the actual account of a human being's conception is prenatal condition and its birth. So this is contrary. So the point what here, Acharya is trying to bring it, or devotee is trying to bring out here, whatever the so-called science says, the science means which does not change. But today's science, do we think the science is not changing? Some few years back, 5 to 10 years back, if there is a if there is if there is a if there is a what I can say. Uh, if there is a wound from fire, uh, immediately you should not put water. So that was the earlier science says. Now the today's science, the same science changes and says, if there is a wound from fire, immediately you put the water. You dip that burnt area into the water. So how could this could be a proper science? So-called science. The science means which does not change. Proper science, right? So sun rises in the east, so that is standard. The earth revolves, and this is the distance between the sun and the earth, and in this way it rotates, which will not change. It is a continuous process or the standard process or which is the fact. So that is the real science. But today's science, it is called pseudoscience. Time to time it changes. Time to those days we were being studied. We have thought by mentioning that what is that? Uh, there are 9 planets in the what to say? There are 9 planets we have studied. But today the same science says it is not like that. So the science means which does not change. So here the same point being emphasized. So the material pseudoscientist says or the psychologist says this womb is a very comfortable place, etc., etc. But our scripture very straight away refuted, from 5,000 years ago. This is being mentioned, the seminar and the woven meat and the fifth, all these things. Even our ancient temple, there are many temples. So, the, the devotees, those who are going for yatra, there is in South India or somewhere there is a temple. We can find the sculpture. It says each and every month what is the growth of the baby, like that in the stone only they are done very nicely. So that is what we are studying, what we are learning from zero day to 6 months growth of the baby, like that. And then it is, Shastra says it is very painful and confinement. It is a punishment actually. So it is not pleasure, getting into the womb of the body, and then, but Lord gives the mercy out of many bahunam janmanam ante. So out of many births, this human form is very rare. Why this human form is very rare? Out of 84 lakhs, only 4 lakh species is the human form. So that means not even 5% of the jivas, of the total manifestation of this jivas, only the 4 to 5% only manifest as a human form. So even though that human form also, the baby's cry and the baby's prayers also there. In future we will see what are the prayers of the baby inside the womb of the mother. So this is not that easy. It is very painful, and confinement, and getting the strength from the mother's food is not that easy. And the child's pain is beyond our conception. So we may think, the child may undergo very limited pain, this, that, and all. It is not at all, we cannot measure that. So it is, the child's pain is beyond our conception, but because his consciousness is yet undeveloped, he is able to tolerate it. So Lord's arrangement. Since the conscious is not developed for the body, the baby, so this is, able to tolerate it. And as adults, we have forgotten all this suffering and observed ourselves in trying to become happy in material life. So this is the core point of this. See how we are ignorant when we start growing. From youthhood. In the previous chapter, we have come across, how difficult this, youthhood. So that is what the connectivity between previous chapter and this chapter. The connectivity of previous chapter gives us uh, uh, like this. It is Kapila Dev now answers the sorry. So we have discussed in the 30th verse the pains in youth. In the previous chapter we have discussed the pains in youth, old age, death, and hell of materially attached person. So how we have come across the sufferings of youth, the sufferings of old age, the sufferings of death, and hell of materially attached person. That is the previous topic. And this topic deals about the pains in the womb at birth as an infant and as a child, also prayers of Jiva within the womb. So these are the subject matter for today's chapter. So I'm repeating the pains in the womb. So we have seen how much pain, how much severe the process is at birth as an infant, and as a child, also the prayers of Jiva within the womb. So these are the subject matter for today's verse, and further we will continue with this how the mundane scholars or people think in this material world, right? And at the end of 7 months in the womb, the child remains just like a bird in a cage, unable to move freely. So our discussion is up to 6 months only. After 6 months, what happens here? It is mentioned that it could not move freely, suffering with without relief. At that time, if the soul is fortunate, he gains one outstanding, uh, better facility. He can remember all the troubles of his past 100 lives. So this is the prayer. So the baby within the womb, when undergoes all this, suffering, the see the prayer of the baby, the vision of his bastard attempts to be happy makes him grieve, and while in the womb, the living being realizes that he has unnecessarily entered the material world. In this frightful condition, he prays with folded hands, appealing to the Lord who has put him there. So this is the cry of the baby. Sometimes a woman in labor promises herself that she will never again become pregnant. The men also will take a vow like this. Uh, I take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. So this is the prayer. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears in his various eternal form, I, the pure soul, appearing now to be bound by my activities, am lying in the womb of my mother by the arrangement of the Lord's illusionary energy. Why we have come? Only because of our desire. The first verse, the first verse, not today's first verse, second to fourth we are discussing. The first verse of this particular chapter deals with, based on our karma, we will get the next form, next body. Offers my respectful obeisances unto him, who is also here with me, but who is unaffected and changeless. He is unlimited, but he is perceived in the everyone's heart. And then further, there are so many prayers which we will come across in the future topics. And then true identity. So one should understand that true identity, we are not the body, we are the spirit soul. Like Prabhupada example, what I quoted earlier. So we have to come out of this samsara, that is punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam. We should not get into this again, whether it is 1 month growth, 2 months growth, 3 months growth, fourth, fifth, sixth, or so on. So that is not our objective of prayer to the Lord. Our objective of the prayer to the Lord, oh Lord, please don't allow me to get into any of the wombs. Permanently, I want to get into the womb of Lord Vishnu, right? We know that Garbhodaya Vishnu. So only we need to get into the shelter of the Lord. And some of the other references relevant to today's verses, or glimpse which is related to this subject topic is in Sri Ishopanishad Mantra 11. It is mentioned that sometimes the child is killed by the modern civilization. We call it as abortion like that. So there is a message from here. It is being killed from one womb to another womb. So what is the punishment for a person who is getting into the process of this abortion is, so the person will get manifest within the womb, but that that jiva will not take birth. Again, it will move to. I mean that child will get killed in the womb only. Again, it may take birth in the another womb. Womb to womb, they will be transferred. So that is a horrible life or ghostly life. Prabhupada says, from Sri Isha Upanishad. So here the abortion also abandoned here from Sri Isha Upanishad. We can understand these things. Again, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.24, it is mentioned that we all know that, the Parishit Maharaj, Uttara, felt that she is going to discharge the womb, and Krishna entered the womb of Uttara and saved the child. So, Lord, so based on karma means then Lord, if one is a pure devotee, here we can understand the miracle, right? and then that is also within the womb of his mother. Lord went inside and Lord could change the karma. So that is from 1.8 to 4. And then again Srimad Bhagavatam 6.18.53. The child in the womb is part of the husband's body. Right? We know that the sperm and this thing and all. So therefore the husband through his representative indirectly remains within the womb of his a pregnant embryo or something. So until the Prabhupada gives clarity on that, the child is not born until it leaves the mother's womb. Right? The child is not born until it leaves the mother's womb. Today we may call cesarean or a normal delivery, etc. But the understanding is the moment the baby comes until it does not came out of the womb of the mother, then that child is not born until it leaves the mother's womb. That is understanding from morning walk lecture from Prabhupada. And again, there are other relevant matters just for the glimpse. So we know what do you call that? Cloning or different species, joining together and then bringing out some other artificially we do know. So what do you call that? The so-called animal science they call that the baby between lion and tiger like that. So that they call the crossing or something. So here there is a relevant subject matter here. It is mentioned that this is also from Srimad Bhagavatam 6.13.8 to 9. So here it is mentioned that in the Manu, Samhita, the following names are given. A son begotten by a Brahmana and born from the womb of a Sudra mother is called Parasava or Nishadha, a hunter accustomed to stealing. So this is the first time. A son begotten by a Nishada in the womb of Sudra woman is called Ukasha. A child begotten by Kshatriya in the womb of the daughter of a Sudra is called Ugra. So like that, keep on it goes. In the Manu Samhita, it is mentioned that. So we, today there are so many other means people get into killing of the babies in the womb and then all are karma only. And then allowing this kind of species, what do you call that? Not cloning. That means species to species, mixing like that in that case. So that is also being, discussed 5,000 years ago. Now we are discussing, what is this, that, and then we know that in the Srimad Bhagavatam 9.9.39, what is this? Madayanti bore the child within the womb for 7 years and did not give birth. Therefore, Vasishtha struck her abdomen with a stone and then the child was born. Consequently, the child was known as Asmaka, the child born of a stone. So like that. And not only that, so this is the concluding, uh, not concluding, this is the last message what I would like to share connection to this from the Krishna book, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, 14th uh, you know, topic. It is mentioned that Lord Brahma therefore compared himself to a little child within the womb of his mother. So Brahma himself claiming that I am like a child in the womb of a mother. If the child within the womb plays within his hands and legs and while playing touches the body of the mother, is the mother offended with the child? Of course, she is not. Prabhupada says. Similarly, Lord Brahma may be a very great personality, and yet not only Brahma, but everything that be is existing within the womb of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we think about this entire creation, here Prabhupada gives a description about this entire manifestation or creation. Not only a Brahma, the entire creation within the womb of the Lord. The Lord's energy is all pervading. There is no place in the creation where it is not acting. Because see, this is a big, womb, right? Lord created. Since everything is existing within the energy of the Lord, the Brahma of this universe and the Brahmas of the many other millions and trillions of universes are existing within the energy of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord is considered to be the mother. Lord Vishnu considered here as the mother, and everything existing within the womb of the mother is considered to be the child. So this entire creation is this Prakriti is called creation of the Lord or the child of the Lord. And the good mother is never offended with the child, even if he touches the body of the mother by kicking his legs. What is this kicking? Our Acharya has explained, right? Here, Varna Shankara, unwanted population when it, gets, or Bhumi Bara. So there is a understanding. Whenever there is a bara, it doesn't mean that Lord takes care properly like this. Yes, Lord takes care and balance it. Though it is 5% of the population, when there is a unwanted population rises, then Lord descends and then Lord establishes two reasons. One is annihilating the Dushkrutas and then protecting the devotees. So this is the take-home message from today's verses, and we should not get into again Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Jananam. Uh, we should pray how the baby prays, "Oh Lord, please take me out of this," and then take me to your Dham. Don't allow me to this your internal energy or your sorry, your creation. So don't put me into the trouble like other jivas. So I don't want to get into this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. So that is the take-home message from all these three verses. And so here we will stop for the day. If there are any questions, you are welcome. Or if there is any additives, also welcome. Otherwise, here we will end for the day. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Thanks for the opportunity to temple authorities. Hare Krishna. If you would like to add anything, you are welcome. Else we could end the session. Shall we end the session? Hare Krishna. Prabhuji and Mataji. Shall we end the session? Okay. We'll end the session now. Once again, Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Guru Vishnu. Hare Krishna. We'll end the session. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Dhanavad.
Hare Krishna.